Welcome, everyone. I'm Magali Collyman Christopher. I'm the founder of Conch Shell Productions, and welcome to Conch Shell Productions Artist Chat 2026. Woo! Yeah, it's the new year. And today we will be chatting with an amazing Caribbean heritage artist, actor, producer, Antiguan American, Lamar Richardson. And we're going to be exploring, you know, what he considers when he's looking at a play or a film that he may want to produce. Let me tell you a bit about this handsome gentleman next to me right today. Lamar Richardson is a 2 times Tony Award winning producer, award winning actor. Did I say that? Did I say that? I said that. He is the founder of Ivy Lion Productions. And okay, so let's take a break. You're like, okay, so I've heard the name, but I don't really know I've heard it. Take a moment, breathe in, and think about a few plays you may have seen since 2020. Gypsy. Merrily we roll along. Ragtime. Appropriate. That's him. He was a producer of those productions. And okay, so I went to Columbia College a few decades ago, like one or two, maybe three. He's also a Columbia graduate. And today I'm also announcing that Lamar Richardson is a member of Conch Shell International Film Festival's jury. Okay, I'm done. Massive intro. Hi, Lamar.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am well, cannot complain.
Cannot complain. That's what I like. We can't be complaining all the time.
No.
Complain, 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 complain. What does it do? It does nothing. Now, yeah, that's me putting on the British Caribbean version of an accent. I'm very Caribbean and Haitian. Now, okay, so let's process. So if you're out there, you're a filmmaker and you're thinking about submitting to our film festival, or just a filmmaker looking for a producer, I need you to pay attention to this episode. You may be learning something that you need to know about what Lamar Richardson likes. So, you've produced major award winning Broadway shows, right? I mean, projects that I just mentioned that this audience recognizes, right? Right? So, walk us through one decision that you've made as a producer that you like, so proud about.
My first show was Death of a Salesman, and I'm very proud of that production because this is the first time in history that it was done on Broadway with a Black Loman family. And Arthur Miller is a prolific playwright that we are all familiar with. We've all studied his work in college and high school, etc. And it was really moving for me to be a part of this part of history and his legacy. And I think that, that being my first project to launch me into this space kind of put a stamp out there for the kind of work that I'm looking for, right? I'm very much so interested in classics that have a unique, fresh spin or in new work that really dives into a slice of life that we are familiar with, but taking it from a different angle.
Hmm.
And as a Caribbean artist myself, first generation, I'm very much interested in stories that are often othered and being a voice and a champion for those to find their way on the stage or on the screen.
So, very clear definition. So, a producer doesn't walk around without a goal, without a brand in mind. He is that producer, he or she or they have an appetite. So, you've just heard Lamar's appetite. At the moment, thinking about productions, I want you to tell me what information matters for an artist to consider when pitching a project to you or any other producer? What matters? What should they try to focus on when they're trying to win you over?
Right. I think now more than ever, given the current socio-political and economic culture that we're in, there has to be commercial viability. Now, I am a major proponent of new work, for example, as an artist, as an actor myself. I love a new play. I love to be able to build out a world, build out a character. But my producer brain, there has to be a through line of commercial viability. And what I mean by that is there has to be a widespread appeal in said subject matter. So if you're going to tell a story that is specific and niche to a specific lens, you're going to want to have to find a way into that story that can appeal to people not from that demographic in order
Mhm.
for people to find an audience, which means finding money to fund it.
So you got to think business and not just art.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
And do you think that viewpoint applies for nonprofit indie theater as much as it does for commercial theater?
Not necessarily. I think that it depends on your ultimate end goal. If someone comes to me and says, "Hey, I want my play to go to Broadway," then there are very clear, specific steps that you have to take to go along that pipeline. If someone is saying, "No, I want to do a grassroots effort, I want to fund this and do this in my community for my community," and as long as I get it on any stage, or if I get it on screen in any film festival, or put it on YouTube, for example, that's a win for me. Then those are two different lenses and two different pathways. I think when people think of commercial success, when they think of I want to, go to TIFF or Sundance or go that way
Mm.
versus a local film festival, for example, or a theater festival versus the public theater or New York Theater Workshop. They're very different pathways.
So, by the way, if you're watching, you can add your comment or question on YouTube and we will answer it in real time because this is a live chat. More
Yes.
often than not, we have recorded chats, but today we're live because we want to hear from you. So don't be shy. I want you to be entering your ideas, sending us a little note here and there. We're here for you. Okay, now get ready for some questions. Now, you basically laid out your viewpoint. Now, what are some red flags for you on a project that makes you go, "Oh, that's not viable"? I know that you understand. I know you mentioned classics were a hot spot for you, but when have you ever bumped into a new work that made you go, "Oh no"? And how do you figure out the "oh no"? Right?
Yeah.
You go to ChatGPT. Is there a committee that sits together and says, "This year, this is a no no. Next year, that will be a no no"? How do you find those "oh no's"? How do you define the "oh no's"?
I think the biggest oh no for me is an unwillingness to collaborate. We have to remember that although art can feel personal and individual at times, it is a collective art form, right? And there are different departments that come together to make said story come to stage or come to screen. And whenever I meet with a playwright or a screenwriter and there is an unwillingness to relinquish control of the creative vision for their project, that's a red flag. Because in any medium you pursue, there's always going to be producers and general managers and development executives and other people who are going to come and give you notes and have ideas and have feedback that you need to be able to receive with gratitude and grace and execute. Otherwise, there won't be a path forward. And I think sometimes when I see that, there might be a playwright that wants to act and direct and produce and do all the departments because that's what they're used to historically, they have a hard time of releasing control, which makes it difficult to move the project forward. And the same thing with a writer for screen. If there's a filmmaker who wants to write and direct and act and cast, you have to be able to have a way for another creative to come in and contribute value. Otherwise, it becomes a deadlock and it's hard to move the project forward.
Where's your favorite place to find a new voice in theater?
So for theater in particular, I love going to readings. I get invited to a lot of readings and workshops. And in something that can seem so oversaturated, the people that have a specific point of view and a clear lens are the ones that ring true. And when it
Mm.
comes to filmmakers and television writers, I get sent a lot of projects from agents and from managers. And I also go to film festivals where I see things and I just love if something is visually stunning and captures me in a way that it just has a deep emotional truth that is deeply and utterly human. And I think that is what draws me in, and that's what whets my appetite as an artist myself.
So cinematography, major plus plus for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Beautiful cinematography and just a willingness to be a daredevil. I think sometimes people play it safe because they're catering to what they think others want in their art. But I love when someone just has a specific point of view and they're not concerned with what others may think about it. Those are the
Mm.
ones that really land well because you can tell that that person's brain and mind came to fruition here, and it's beautiful to see executed.
So you say you go to film festivals and you love seeing film festivals. So you're going to be one of our jury members. Where do you see early career producers or filmmakers wasting money or time?
There's a big push right now to create your own content. And a lot of people are trying to do, vertical series or YouTube series, Vimeo series, TikTok series. And I think when you're throwing your hat into way too many buckets with no specificity or clear vision forward, that becomes clear and your product becomes diluted, right? I would much rather somebody say, I'm going to make an Instagram reel series and I'm going to focus there and put my value there and do a week by week episodic series over 10 weeks and land there, as opposed to trying 5 different platforms and it just becomes hard to follow and the quality suffers as a result. So I think there needs to be a clarity, a specificity, an intention. I think so many times artists are just grasping at straws because they're trying to cater to some big nebulous unknown, as opposed to honoring their truth and their deep artistry that they have within themselves. And that's a major mishap that I see all the time.
So stop aiming to please, just tell your story. That sounds
Just
like what
tell
you're
your
saying.
story.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah,
Just tell your
yeah.
story.
So invest in telling your story. So, okay, what would you tell an emerging filmmaker is the difference between TikTok versus Instagram as a home for your vertical content?
I think TikTok is about trend. It's about buzziness. It's about being in, and it's kind of like you're trying to create a story that has an under track underneath that's popular or trending, and you're using
Mm.
hashtags and the FYP hashtag and all of that. It's very much like here and now. Instagram, I feel like it's more of a narrative friendly platform where you can build over time, you can curate an audience over time, you can tag people and interact with people and share. And it's much more of a community in a way that I think is artist friendly. Whereas TikTok is like, if you don't have X amount of views or X amount of interactions, the platform isn't going to prioritize your story and it can get lost in the sauce.
I noticed you didn't mention YouTube.
YouTube is the OG, which I love. I think that YouTube gives you more of an avenue to have a long standing platform where you can build a page, build a brand, and
Mm.
from there you can be found by executives in the industry and branch out from there. And I think a lot of people sleep on YouTube because it was kind of the first to go and trailblaze this path forward. But don't forget, Issa Rae started on YouTube, and a lot of many other artists that we admire started there.
Need I say? I want to take a moment and share a feedback from an audience member. Oh, Diane De La Haye, she's a member of our artist collective. She's a filmmaker from Jamaica, and her film has been in our film festival in the past. Because a lot of viral videos happen randomly, I think that's why people lose focus and just post any and everything. But you're right. Stay true to yourself and your passion.
Correct, correct. And I
So
know
you're
it can sound cliche and feel like it's easier said than done, but it's really, really true. We all are on social media and we all see the things that make us roll our eyes and we're just like, oh, this again. But when something is unique and it's off the beaten path, you're like, oh, this is interesting. I'm drawn in. I want to know more about this person, about this artist, and that kind of opens the room for them.
hmm. Hmm. Wow. Thank you for that note. That's making me think. It's making me think. So let's shift gears a bit. I shared earlier that you're of Antiguan descent. Let's talk about Caribbean storytelling because at Conchal Productions, our whole focus is about Caribbean heritage stories. Let's not think about it in a nostalgic way or biographical way because quite often when we think about, I mean, I've had many conversations with people and ask them what's their favorite Caribbean story that they want to see. And there's always this going back to making sure historical figures are seen. And I totally get it, right? But you are an Antiguan American producer working at a high level. So tell me, from your vantage point, what is a Caribbean story that, you're just tired of seeing? Like, please just stop, just stop, just stop, stop recycling that story. What's the story that makes you go, stop, no more?
I think there's a penchant to put Caribbean stories into sports buckets. I've seen a lot of, stories that are Olympic specific, or track or field, because a lot of the Caribbean countries get into those specific games in the Olympics, whether it's track or shot put or something like that. And there's always a lot of stories that kind of reiterate that. Like, for example, with Jamaican culture, I see a lot of like sprinting, running, track stories. And I'm like, there are other things that are on the island that can be represented and shown as opposed to just that specific story. And it's an important story, but it's not the only story. And I think to your other point, there's a lot of historical figures where people think that it has to always be the first person to have made the island free or to have mined sugar or cane on the island. And it's never about contemporary stories that are everyday people on the island making a living, right? Or those that are in the Caribbean, in the America, 1 degree removed from being born there, who are being doctors or going to school or just doing regular everyday slice of life things that we see other diasporic stories do.
So we're going to go through a yes and moment. What are you hungry to see, but you rarely ever see? Not just the vague diasporic story, because before you're very clear about what you're hungry for theater. When we're talking about the Caribbean heritage story, what are you like, gimme, 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 gimme?
I would love to see a highbrow workplace drama that sets place in a middle to upper middle class world, and all the characters are of Caribbean descent, whether they're first generation, natives, second generation, and what that means. Like, for instance, I read a script a couple of days ago about a uh, euthanasia center that was passed down through generations. What are the stories about that are from the Caribbean? Like what?
Euthanasia? No, no, literally, I've written a piece
Yes,
about euthanasia, and I just figured no one would ever want to see the story, but I want to shoot
I
it.
loved it. I loved it because it was something that, again, you don't ever see that done. And it was just so compelling because it was a family drama and set in this unfamiliar world, and it drew me in.
And it's a Caribbean heritage story on some Caribbean island?
No, not that one, but some of the characters were. And I
Okay.
thought, oh, this would be interesting if it was fully immersed in that world.
Okay. So we talked about aspiring, but let's talk about infrastructure
Yeah,
because we met in December when
yeah.
I attended the Caribbean Festival at Billie Holiday that was presented by Billie Holiday. And there was a lot of conversation about infrastructure, infrastructure. Um, what infrastructure do you feel Caribbean artists really need to build to sustain their careers and not just film, but also theater, the whole kit and caboodle?
I think that as we've seen in other diasporic stories, a canon, like having a clear through line of a succession in terms of stories. Like, for example, you think of August Wilson in the Pittsburgh Century Cycle, right? You think of Dominique Morisseau in the Detroit Cycle. You think of people like Nambi Kelly and like people that are identified with where they are from and having stories that speak to that experience successively. And I think I've yet to really see that in the Caribbean voice in terms of a mainstream sense. You think of there are a lot of Nigerian stories and Ghanaian stories and playwrights that have kind of come to the forefront, and those artists have had backing and infrastructure and institutions to get behind them. And I think the same thing can be done for Caribbean artists with that same thing being put into place.
I love that. And that's the home that we made at Conchel Productions. And segueing to Conchel Productions, I have another amazing note from Diane De La Haye. She said, hey, check out, I threw in the hay. She didn't say hey. Check out Treatin' by Nadine Rawlins.
I'm copying and pasting into my browsers to look at
See?
it after.
And I would like to share, check out, there's some amazing playwright turned screenwriters of Haitian descent. Francoise Benson is one of them, and her approach to telling Haitian story basically gave me the courage to say, you know what, I'm going to keep pushing the story that I've been putting in paper, but never really putting out there. And she's been doing it for a while. So if you haven't met Franz Luz Benson, uh, ring a ding ding, call me. Dan Delahaye, I'm going to send you. Oh, it's Trey Town.
Yeah, I see it. I see it right
Okay.
here.
So Trey
Okay.
Town, he's going to be
Okay.
looking for your work, Nadine. And also, there's some amazing artists in Canada. But let's go back to our conversation. Now, I want you to tell me exactly, explicitly, what really matters to you. Not hypothetically, but when you're looking at our short films later in the year, because the deadline for our film festival to submit your work is in July. And after that, by August, he's going to be looking at your film. So pay attention, filmmakers. What are you going to be looking for? Because I know personally, the first 60 seconds, I'm like, I decide whether I'm going to be excited or not.
Right.
So, what are you looking for in the first 60 seconds when you're looking at these short films? Some of them are going to be 20 minutes long, some of them are going to be 1 minute long, some of them are 5 minutes long. What are you looking for?
Like I said earlier, the cinematography, like is it visually stunning? Does it tell a story before I hear a single word or before I see a single face? What's the tone? What's the music? What's the sound? Like what are the other crafts of the film that are coming to the forefront to help create the entire world? How did you build that world? That's the first thing. Second of all, is there a narrative through line? Right? Like is there a super objective? What are these artists and these characters fighting for? What's the friction? What's the tension? Do I believe the engine driving this film forward? Am I invested in it or not? Or is it
Mhm.
just pretty storytelling, beautiful words and prose, but there's no bite, right? Third, am I emotionally invested? Am I moved? Am I riveted? Am I left thinking about some theme in society or some trope that we've seen before? Like what is this question? What is this film asking me, and what is it leaving me with as I walk away from it?
So, it sounds like you're looking for films that inspire you to awaken or change.
Yeah, I think that film, theater, all of these mediums, you have a responsibility as an artist, right? And what are you going to do with the power of this medium that you have at your fingertips? And how do you want people to walk away affected by it?
I totally concur. And it's not about the budget.
No, no, no. I've
Don't worry
seen
about the budget. You
no,
know, think about those things.
yeah,
Cinematography, clear story, get a script supervisor, get a script editor to give you feedback,
yeah,
accept the feedback,
yeah,
trust the feedback, believe that you don't know it all, but the collaborators know enough.
right.
So, okay, so you're going to be a member of our jury. And a lot of people go, I don't know about this film festival thing. I'd rather put my film on YouTube. What don't people understand about the role of a jury member?
So, for example, I'm someone who produces Broadway, who produces television, and by me being a part of this film festival as a jury member, even if, for example, you don't win some prize or whatever the case may be, you now have someone who is in other parts of the industry who's familiar with your work, who wants to champion your work, who may want to invest in your work or help to move your work to another medium. So I think that this amazing platform that Conch Shell is giving you, you should give it your best shot because you just never know where your film will land, who will see your film, who will be inspired by your film, and what other opportunities will be birthed from your film being in this festival.
Thank you. Thank you. Diane, thank you so much for being part of this conversation. Thank you, Lamar, for inspiring everyone to step up their cinematography game, their story game, their casting game, because you got to make sure you have strong actors involved
Yeah,
with your project
yeah,
and shape your story and know your voice.
yeah.
So, what are you excited about for 2026? Come on, give us some insights.
I'm excited to. I'm always looking for new voices. Truly, like truly. I know a lot of people say that, but I really feel that the next generation is upon us. And as a producer, I'm in my 30s. Like, I want to be someone to help bring people forward, right? And to be able to provide opportunities and platforms. And many a times I will take someone's script out or someone's play. And even if that particular project doesn't go the distance, it opens doors for that artist in other worlds, right? Like, for example, recently I just had a writer get staffed on a television show from working with me over the past year to take out a specific script that we're still working on, but we met someone who loved his work so much they wanted to give him a job elsewhere, right? And that
Mm.
kind of thing happens all the time. And I think that by me being a champion and having a specific lens of what I'm looking for things, it kind of helps to be an arbiter for other people's success. And I think that's important too. You have to pay it forward. It's not just about the here and now, it's about what's to come. And I love that as a producer, I get to have that role and that opportunity to shine a light on people who otherwise would not have one put on them.
I feel like I met a brother in arms. Let's go out there and, show the world. No, but seriously, that's what I really appreciated in your message when we first met back in December, that you were really pro let's move forward together. Let's make this happen. Let's support each other. And I want to thank you. I want
No,
to thank you. And to everyone who's watching this, go ahead and share this message with your peers. And thank you, Diane. And Diane Delahaye says she learned a lot and she thanked us both. Thank you.
thank you, Diane. And thank you
Singing.
for putting me on the Trade Town. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And at this point, we're gonna call this conversation done. Done for the day. But it's not done, done, done. It's not done, 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 because we're going to keep on talking with Lamar as we continue sharing your work with him when you submit your film. So submit your film. And by the way, student filmmakers, free waived submissions until March 27th, the end of our
Oh,
line. So we're all about making sure we support you, right? I mean, how often do you get that when you submit your film to a film festival, get your stuff waived? Like,
take
never.
advantage, y'all. Take advantage. Take advantage. Spread
So
the
we want to
word.
make sure. Yes, spread the word, spread the word. And there's going to be a QR code at the end. And by the way, this year, for the very first time, we're doing a youth showcase. So we're trying to
Wow.
focus the light on high school filmmakers. So that's going to be free. So teachers out there teaching the future filmmakers of Caribbean heritage, tell them submit by March 27th and it's free. But make sure there is clear cinematography, great story. What else, Lamar?
What else? What else? What else? What else?
Strong
What else?
acting,
Strong
trusting,
acting. Yes.
collaborate, collaborate.
Yes.
Don't be the king
Yes.
of the hill.
No, literally. It's okay to work with others. It's okay to share your baby with people. The people who are meant to work with you will find you. Find your tribe, find your community.
Yes, find your tribe. And by the way, if you're looking for new works like Lamar, we're going to be bringing Blue Light series back online this year. We started online during the pandemic and we're back online. And our first reading is March 2nd. And we're going to be doing a reading of The Saga of Peaches and the Black King by
Mm.
Gretchen Suarez Pena. So be sure to go on our Conchal Productions page and make your reservation. It's pay what you can, see the new works. We're doing the Messy Coming of Age series this year, so that we're going to be fully producing 3 plays over the course of 2 years. Join
Wow.
us on this journey of developing the work. Got to be there to support. You can't just not be there. And before I lock down everything and say goodbye, we're going to be having our next artist chat is going to be with Linda Paris Bailey, a playwright whose new play, Yankee Bajan, is going to be making its way to the East Coast and hopefully New York, hopefully in
Wow.
2026. You got to tune in for our next artist chat to find out what's the what. Thank you so much, Lamar.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for tuning in.
Yes, yes. And have a great one.
You too.